All right, welcome to episode 131 of Convos on the Pedicab. I'm here with JiuJitsu purple belt and fellow pedicab driver Ali Wolski. Before we get started, we got to give a big shout out to our sponsor. Have you been leaving your house outside again? Texas weather can wreak havoc on your home, especially your roof. And if you haven't had it inspected lately, chances are that outside elements could be making their way inside your home. So trust Balcones Roofing and Remodeling to perform a thorough roof inspection and offer long-lasting solutions. They are the only 5-star rated roofer in Austin who specialize in installing the impact-resistant F-Wave Revia and back all roof replacements with a $20,000 guarantee. To schedule a roof inspection, call 512-937-8805 or visit balconesroofsaustin.com. Ali, I'm so excited to have you.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to not talk about politics.
Yes.
I'm super pumped about this. Like, I'm very happy. Also, you have an important tournament coming up.
I do.
Tell me about it.
The main character jiu-jitsu one?
You made a really fun promo video,
Yes.
and I said, you know what? We got to do this episode.
Yeah. So there's a main character jiu-jitsu on July 1st at 10th Planet, actually at your gym, run by Kim Moy Anderson. It'll be like a 16-person bracket, I believe, 145. Okay. It's going to have a ton of super experienced girls in the bracket. I'm super excited.
That is fun, and you are not 145.
I am not. I am like 130.
But right now you identify as somebody who's at 145.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to start bulking.
You have to start bulking.
Yes.
Do some roids. Get ready.
Yes.
They don't drug test, right?
They do not. So.
Yeah, you should ask ask Colin for some TRT. Make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
Come through all swole with a mustache. You just get ready. Fuck these chicks up.
Yep. I'll come in.
That's the only way.
Beefed out.
But honestly, technique beats strength anyway. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've definitely gone against a lot of girls like way bigger than me, so I think I'll be fine. I've gone like 145, 155. 160.
Yeah, it doesn't faze you. You also go to a pretty good school.
Yeah, a lot of big boys there.
Dude, for real. The B&B team stands for big.
It does.
Like these guys are just absolute monsters.
Yep.
it's like you're at a bodybuilding it's almost like you're like a Mr. Universe pageant. Like you're like, what is this? Like these just like swole motherfuckers who are just like who move fluidly and they're just have like flawless technique. It's like you're in a laboratory.
Yeah, they all eat their vegetables.
Yeah. Fruits and vegetables, yes. They have to do that. So how long have you been training for?
I've been training for like 2.5 years.
And you have what? Okay, you have a purple belt after 2.5 years.
Yes.
Wait, were you like a prodigy? Like what's?
No, I just train a lot. So when I started, I started in November of 2020 or October of 2020, and got my blue belt after like 7 months, and then got my purple belt from Nikki Ryan like a month ago.
Well, that's really impressive. So you, I see you compete a lot.
I do. I've had like maybe 28 competitions. Some of them are tournaments. Some of them are like super fights. But I compete like twice a month.
Yeah, I see your Instagram is just flooded with competing. Like you're on the BJ Penn like 5-year black belt track. Like that's insane.
That would be cool.
That'd be really cool. So have you done any fight to wins? Like, what was the biggest tournament that you've done so far?
Biggest one I've done is Medusa Combat Jiu-Jitsu in Mexico with Eddie Bravo. So that one was wild to be part of. Getting slapped in the face.
How did you do? But I saw some of your highlights. Your wrestling was looking really good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I did pretty good for how long I've been training. I think I went against a girl who's been training for like 6 years. She's a brown belt MMA. She's also a cop.
Oh wow!
So she's pretty tough. But yeah, we went against each other. I got a takedown on her, and then she got on top. I think I swept her at one point, and then I ended up losing because I got hit in the eye, and I couldn't see, and then I just let her take my back and choke me out.
Oh, or
not choke me out, but choke me to tap.
Okay, yeah. But that's still pretty cool. Like that's still a win.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a win being there at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that's kind of how I feel. Like we're both pedicab drivers.
Yes.
And so just you're getting to do all these awesome athletic events and you're competing against very high level people and I'm like, a political troll.
Yeah.
But I'm also getting a chance to like interact with and perform and share a stage and do episodes and make friends with a lot of people that are very, very influential in this industry in the industry that I'm in. And it's mind boggling and wild to me that I'm even, mentioned in that company. So I see where you're coming from with all that stuff. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, totally.
So how do you feel about pedicabbing?
I like it a lot. It's kind of the best job that I could have as somebody who wants to do jujitsu full time.
It really is.
Yeah, because super flexible. I can kind of just go whenever I want. Weekends, there's not a lot of training on weekends anyway, so I can be out all weekend, like just making money, and then go train when I'm done.
Because you do work a lot. Like you have a pretty hectic schedule. Because every time I like come out on a weekday, I see you and Eric riding all the time. It's kind of like, how do you balance training the way in which you're training with actually trying to do this job and make money?
So I just try to train during the day. If I can get to the noon classes at B Team, that's the best time to go, because it's like the more competition like style class where we have like it's all 10-minute rounds. So that's the one I prefer to go to if I can. And then after I'll just work from like 5 or 6 until whenever at night, whenever the drunks are done being drunk.
How do you sleep?
I sleep from like 4 a.m. to like 11 a.m. usually.
Do you feel burnt out at all?
Sometimes, yeah. It's a weird schedule.
It's a very weird schedule.
Yeah.
I find that so when I was trying to fight, this was years ago, right? And I'm undefeated. I've had one fight.
That's great.
But when I was getting ready to fight, I was pedicabbing, and pedicabbing helped, but I was making a lot less money on the pedicab trying to get ready for a fight and be a competitive athlete than I was when I was just focused on pedicabbing.
Yeah.
And I always find that, like, for me to be a successful competitive athlete or just be hyper successful at anything, you got to be hyper focused on just doing one thing in order to get to a certain level that you want to get to. Do you feel as though like your competitive schedule is impacting the amount of money that you're making on the cab?
Yeah, I think so. I think they affect each other both ways. One of the things I noticed is pedicabbing, if I'm like working that schedule, like I said, like 6 to 4 or whatever, then my eating habits are just like horrible because I can never like remember to eat properly. So then like the next day I feel super drained because I'm like hungry. And then, same thing if I'm like like I'm competing, or I'll miss out on like a concert or whatever at the Moody Center. So
yeah,
that affects it.
And then when you're trying, well, you don't have to cut weight because you're the smallest person in your group.
Sometimes I cut weight. I mean, not for this one, but yes.
I had to cut weight when I was doing my fight, and because I had to, like, I fought at it was a catcher, it was 150.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm like a pretty big dude, so getting that weight was very difficult. Mm-hmm. And I didn't, for like 2.5 months, I didn't eat any bread.
What do you walk around at?
Now I'm fat. I'm like 180, right? But like when I was doing this, I walked around like between 165 and 170 or something like that. So during my fight camp, I probably lost like 17 pounds to
That's crazy.
in like 2 months.
Wow.
So, but I didn't eat any bread. The only carbs I had were like potatoes and rice and stuff like that. Like my cheat meal was like literally eating a sandwich with like grilled chicken and like an avocado or maybe a hamburger like once a week or something like that was like my cheat meal. And then I was like training twice a day, lifting in the morning, doing class in the afternoon, or like boxing in the morning or in like at like 10, 11, and then like going and wrestling and doing grappling like at night or something, then go for like a 3-mile run. And, I was hyper monitoring my diet. Like I was packing lunch. I was meal prepping for an entire week. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't pedicabbing on Sunday because Sunday I was meal prepping food all week. Mm-hmm. I was eating every 2 hours. I was like, my snack was like 2 scoops of almond butter.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? And like a banana maybe, or like it's just stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would be, by the time like the weekend rolled around, I'm exhausted. I'm drained. Everybody's drunk. Everybody's having a great time. I can't even eat a bagel. Like I can't even have a slice of pizza. And I'm just like angry at everybody. Like I hated when I was trying to fight. Like I hated this job.
Yeah.
I hated everybody. I didn't like, people were like, "Hey, you want to have a drink?" No, get away from me. Like people would come to me like, "Where can I buy drugs from?" I'm like, I don't know. Ask a fucking drug dealer. Go to the Arch. Go to the homeless shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just so irritable and angry about everything constantly because it was just like testosterone. Like you were just producing a ton of testosterone. You were scared about the fact that you had to go into a cage against some monster that wanted to kill you, and you're doing it in front of a bunch of people. Mm-hmm. And then you got to like pretend to be in a good mood to like attract people to get in your tricycle, and then all the money that you make is literally just going towards you eating and supplementing yourself, and you're barely seeing any of that money. It was really difficult for me to be able to be a good pedicab driver while I was training. But then on the flip side, once my fight was over, I had like a monster South by Southwest because I was in such a good mood and I didn't have to think about anything.
Yeah.
You know, or when I would just be really focused on making money, I'd be really good at it because I'm like, oh my God, this is so much easier than fighting. So
yeah,
I guess I'm just wondering, like, how are you able to what is your secret to balancing all that out right now?
I don't have a secret. I haven't figured out how to balance it yet. That's the problem. I don't know. I'm tired a lot. But yeah, it definitely like makes pedicabbing difficult because you have to like put on, such a like happy face and like attract people, like you said. And it's difficult to do when you're like cranky and underfed.
And hungry and nervous.
Exactly.
And
worried. Yeah.
Are you getting sponsors right now?
I have one sponsor, Roll Bliss.
Okay.
Once in a while, there's a taco truck that'll sponsor me. They're actually moving up to Austin soon.
Nice.
But yeah, Roll Bliss is my consistent sponsor. They give me all my gear. So
yeah,
they're super cool. You know them, right?
Yeah, I know Roll Bliss.
Yeah, they're cool.
And you love this.
Yeah, I love it.
And you love it, and you're happy.
I am happy.
Shit, that's cool. So has pedicabbing like has this job changed your view on human beings at all?
Yes, for sure.
How so?
I feel like there's a lot of people that are just like complete jerks out here, but for like every one of those jerks, there's like 10 people that are just awesome, in my opinion. Because for example, like the other night, I was giving rides to people from a concert, and people were just being super generous with like tips and whatever, and like they'd ask me about jujitsu.
Oh, because your sign's on your cab, right? About that?
Yeah, they'll see that, or like if I have like a hoodie or whatever that has like a jujitsu thing, like people always are like really curious about that, and then once I tell them about it, they like really want to support my jujitsu career, which is really nice.
That is nice, yeah.
They'll help me as much as they can, which is really cool. But then there's also like people who are crazy and like trying to do wheelies on the Lime scooters and just like falling all over the place and being crazy drunk assholes. So there's a whole range.
Have you had any confrontations yet since you've been doing this job?
I don't.
You can share with the class.
Not really. The one that comes to mind most is we were posted up on Sandjack and 6 the other day, and this homeless lady comes up to us, just takes off her pants and just pees right in front of us. But that's that's kind of the worst that's happened. No bad confrontations.
No guys getting like aggressively trying to hit on you that you have to push away and do any shit like that with.
Not really. There's been a couple guys who that want to wrestle me because they they'll ask me why I came to Austin. I'll tell them jiu-jitsu and they're like, "Oh, I bet you can't wrestle." And they like want to like wrestle on the street and I'm like, "No, you're stupid."
Do you ever just fuck with them and guillotine them just to get a better tip?
I always think about it. I should. I really should.
You should.
Just let them like shoot on me and then.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Yeah, you should because like they obviously can't go hard and slam you because they'll look like assholes.
Yeah.
And if they do that, they'll tip you more because they feel bad.
Yeah.
And if you choke them out, they have to tip you more because they're gonna get laughed at and made fun of by all their friends.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I might try that tonight.
You should try that tonight if someone says that.
That'd be great. It's always the same guy too. It's always the same kind of guy. It's like a 20-year-old or 21-year-old that goes to college here or like is visiting his friends in college.
Never wrestled in his life.
Never wrestled in his life.
Because anybody that actually has any kind of like combat sports experience is never going to talk to you like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like they always think that they can beat me up, but I think I could probably guillotine them.
Okay, you should say that like, hey, listen, if you can out wrestle me, your ride is free, but if I choke you out, you're paying triple.
Okay, yeah.
You should do that and see what they say.
If you see me at the end of tonight with bloody knees, then it's your fault.
Wow. Do you think that jiu-jitsu has made you a how do you think training jiu-jitsu has affected you as a pedicab driver?
I think it lets me pedicab, period, because I think I wouldn't have the confidence to pedicab without it. It's like I have like that self-defense aspect now, and obviously, I'm not completely safe from everything, but I think it just gives me confidence to like be like, okay, I can fend for myself here. So it's a lot more encouraging.
You're more relaxed and you're less stressed about stuff, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I get phased. Yeah, jiu-jitsu has definitely helped. Listen, like, I'm never going to be a pro fighter. If I were to have wanted to pursue MMA or jiu-jitsu as a career, I would just be mediocre, and that's okay. It's like gives you a self-awareness.
Yeah.
But
it's better than most people, so.
Yeah, it's fine. Listen, being a mediocre combat athlete, you're still on the top 90% of real people when it comes to having to, God forbid, be in a fight. So it's still okay.
Yeah.
Nothing to be upset about. But it has given me a lot more confidence, and it's made me a lot calmer in stressful situations. And the job that we have people think, oh, it's fun. You ride a tricycle all day and you get to make your own schedule. And there's no HR.
There's no HR.
There's no HR. and for the most part, it is kind of a slacker job.
Yeah.
It can be. I mean, it's a slacker job that if you work really hard at it, you can do really well.
Mm-hmm.
But this job is like being on an island of misfit toys.
Yeah, it totally is.
It really, it's like you're around like a bunch of dysfunctional retards who found one thing that they're good at and just happen to have money. You're around. It's basically like being around children. Like I tell my girlfriend this. I'm like, I got a good job. She's like, no, you're a child with a lot of money.
Yeah, we're children with tricycles that get to make money.
With tricycles who are lucky enough to be able to do this job.
Yeah, it's actually insane.
It's totally insane, absolutely. But, if it wasn't for doing something like jiu-jitsu, I wouldn't be able to keep my cool with, like, a bunch of cars coming at me in a million different directions.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to, like, deal with getting rejected by 10 different people. I wouldn't have the confidence to, like, play my conspiracy theory rap songs for everybody.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to like stay calm while I'm going in and trolling city council meetings and keeping a straight face. I wouldn't be able to like,
It's a good point. It's so much more than just self-defense. There's like confidence in all aspects for sure.
It puts everything in perspective.
Yeah.
It's a good stress management technique, and it's one of those things where it's like, I used to train to be a competitive athlete, and now I'm like just training to like the way I structure training is like, how do I best optimize my performance at work and my performance creatively?
Mm-hmm.
And so now I've like structured my training differently. I'm like, all right, well, like what's going to have me have the best weekend on the pedicab? Like, how do I train to accomplish that? Like, how do I train so that I crush it at the next city council meeting I go to? How do I train? Like, how do I train so that I can, go into this mega corporation dressed like a drag queen and pretend to do drag queen story hour at Barnes and Nobles without, while worrying about whether the cops are going to get called on me? How do I like dress up as a clown and say that I'm the CEO of Chick-fil-A and actually have to interact with the police when they come because somebody threatened me? Not an employee, but it's a random guy in the store threatened me and threatened my camera lady.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God. What do you say?
Did you see the video?
I didn't.
Well, you can watch the video after the episode, but like I basically last week I dressed up as a clown and I said that I would like to be the CEO of Chick-fil-A. My pronouns are clown and clown self, and I,
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then I talked about how when I become CEO, we're gonna get rid of the drive-thru because we have to worry about climate change and the cars are destroying the planet, and we have to get to net zero, and you shouldn't be driving a car at all if you still want to live on this planet. And I got a little hysterical about it, and I talked about how. We also, because I care about climate change and sustainability, we shouldn't have meat in the chicken, and we should replace the meat in the chicken with like crickets and insects, because this is what the people at Davos want. I'm trying to help you. I'm just trying to get you a better score on the corporate equity index.
Yeah.
I just want your DEI to. This is about diversity and inclusion, and so eventually they were like, yeah, no, we're not doing that, and then the guy's like, well, Chick-fil-A. This guy was all serious and flustered. This old dude. And he's like, Chick-fil-A has been a great company. I don't understand why you're dressed like this. I'm like, well, because I just want to be the CEO. I'm just dressed for the job I want. I don't see what the problem is. But, I wouldn't have been able to just yes and be that like quick if I wasn't used to having to do a sport where I constantly have to react quickly to things. Yeah. In a high pressure situation. I think that just doing any activity that makes you have to that conditions your brain to react in a high pressure situation translates to like, hey, will I sell this pedicab ride? Mm-hmm. Will I get a better tip? Will I avoid getting hit by a car when I'm weaving through traffic, trying to get somebody to Rainy Street 2 minutes faster than normal so I can get that second ride? Mm. Will I know which song to pick to make this person love the pedicab ride even more? And all of that stuff I feel really ties into make you better at this job. Yeah.
Do you have go-to songs for different like demographics of people? Like
which rap song of mine do I pick?
No, for example, if Eric or I get a 40-year-old lady or and her friends in the back, we always put on like Fleetwood Mac radio.
Oh, I do shit like that too. So I do like Girls Want to Have Fun and like 80s music. Like, if I get shit like that, like stuff like that, it's like, oh, we're gonna play 99 Luft Balloons. We're gonna find like the cheesiest 80s songs and vibe out to them.
Yes, exactly.
But if I see like old couples and I see a guy with like an American flag hat, I'm just like, sir, we're fighting communism. Get in. Yes. Would you like to hear the rap song I made about Joe Biden? Like not a single dollar goes to Ukraine. I think part of this job too is knowing who your people are and being hyper focused on your people and listen, my views are a fringe minority here in Austin, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's nothing more punk rock than being a conservative conspiracy theorist. um, but that being said, very few people that I'm probably going to wind up giving rides to are going to like feel the same about some of these issues or not be as aware of some of these issues. Some of these issues, like they might not understand like why the World Economic Forum is so dangerous and why one world government is bad, and some of them might not know what a CBDC is, and that's okay. But I'm really good at sniffing out the ones that do, and I have a great playlist. And
That's
a great way
awesome.
of speaking with the people that do, and luckily, the people that do own businesses and still have the money and the willingness to want to support me. And so it's like, I think once you understand who you like, once you have a solid understanding of yourself, it helps you find like-minded people. And when you attract like-minded people, A, you're not going to starve. And B, you'll have positive experiences on your cab, and you'll be less likely to get burnt out, and you're more likely to love your job.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool.
So is pedicabbing what you expect?
It's honestly like way more fun than I expected.
Really?
You mean like from before I started to now?
Yeah. When you decided to be a pedicabber, like what made you say, "Hey, I want to go do this job"? Like, how did it all start for you?
So we had just moved to Austin like a year ago, and then Eric's cousin, who lives here in Austin, worked at APC.
Okay.
He used to be a pedicabber there.
What's his name?
Misa.
I don't know.
I think you probably have seen him before.
Okay.
He's got really pretty long hair. He's really cool. Very short stint. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, he just told us about it because he knew that we needed something flexible. I was working a graphic design job for just like a company like called iJust.
Okay.
And then that was not working out super well for me, and I needed because I needed something more flexible. It was like a 9-to-5 job, and I need something where I could train.
Yeah.
So we got the job because Misa introduced us to Matt over at APC, and then I didn't think that it was gonna be as easy to make money. Like I thought it was gonna be, I don't know, like just super difficult to like make ends meet, but it's actually been very helpful. So
Yeah. What was your impression of pedicabbers before you started doing this job?
I had only really seen one before I started, and I forget who it was because it was some guy with like super long flowing hair. We were on Rainy Street, and he was like, "Yo, you guys want a pedicab ride?" And I was like, "What is that?" And I had no idea. I just thought it was a guy on a bike, which it is, but I had no like real impression of it.
And where are you from?
Massachusetts.
Like Boston, where?
North central Massachusetts, like kind of in the middle of nowhere, like
Okay.
hour outside of Boston.
So when you went to Boston, did you ever see pedicabs in Boston or New York?
No.
Or anywhere else? You never saw any?
Never saw 'em.
Wow. Okay.
Never saw 'em.
So your first exposure to pedicabs is
Yeah, there's. I mean, I had seen them in like Mexico when they're like on the front. It's like a backwards pedicab.
Yeah.
Like the driver's back here, and then the person's sitting up front. So
how do you think that people view us?
I don't know. I feel like people think we're all weirdos, which is probably
We
true.
are weirdos.
Yeah, which is probably true. But I know for the most part, like anybody who takes a ride, they really enjoy it. I think. Is that
No,
your experience too?
I think it's half and half. Yeah, some really enjoy it. Some are like not feeling the Joe Biden song. You know, it depends.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it depends. It depends on who's in the cab. But yeah, usually people enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
I guess I was just wondering, like, what do you think the public perception of pedicab drivers is?
I don't know. That's a good question. I feel like people either don't see us at all, like we blend in, or because I like never noticed pedicabbers before either, or they see us as like these super weird people that just like cart people around super fast, you know. But do you think that like did you ever like notice them before you started pedicabbing, or did they kind of blend in for you?
So I'm from New York, right?
Okay, from the city?
Yeah, New York City.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
That's cool.
well, yeah, I moved here in 2013, and this is the first time I've ever experienced living on my own without mom and dad. Minus like 4 months, you know, but that was it, right? In college, which doesn't count. But the first time I've ever really been away from home, out of the nest, by myself was moving to Austin. And I had a job as a personal trainer for like a year and a half before moving. But like aside from that, that personal training job was the longest I ever was able to hold on to a job for, right? And so now that I've been doing pedicabbing, I've been doing this job for like 9 years. I've never been able to like keep a job aside from this, and I just happen to luckily be like this autistic savant who's really good at this job, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's like the only thing that I'm good at to make a living.
Yeah.
Right. And because of this, I've become like very hypersensitive as to like how we are looked at.
Mm-hmm.
Because if people look at us like we're a bunch of like crackheads and degenerates and like losers and people that rip people off. So in New York, it was like a bunch of like foreigners and like Middle Easterners that didn't really speak English very well, that use like high pressure sales tactics that like overcharged you and just like did not actually care about like providing a real service or even seem like they were having fun doing this. All they wanted to do was suck as much money up out of you as possible. It's like they were just like pirates.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the view I got. And so when I responded to a Craigslist ad when I first moved here, and my mom was like really skeptical about this job. She's like, "You're not going to make any money doing this. Why are you doing this? Why are you going to try doing this?" And like she came and visited me like right off the bat, and it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and she's like, "These people aren't making any money. Like no one's out right now." And it was Tuesday, so it was a Tuesday in Austin 10 years ago, so Austin wasn't nearly as developed.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Well, I don't know, Mom. I mean, I had a job at an after-school program. It's something to try. I'm throwing as many darts at the board. We'll see what happens."
Yeah.
At the time, I wanted to be a school teacher and teach elementary school, so I thought that this was going to be temporary, or it would be like a weekend job, like a job to do once in a while for extra pocket money.
So you've been doing this for like 10 years now?
Yeah.
Wow.
Since December 20th, 2013 was my grandmother's birthday.
Wow.
Yeah. I started on a trailer, so like my first bike that I started doing, it was a regular bike with an actual cart attached to the regular bike.
No
like,
way.
Yes, it was like, I'll show you a picture of like what these things looked like, but it was crazy. Like if you went up the hill and stopped, you couldn't like start back up on the hill again.
Yeah. Was that like difficult to maneuver and everything?
Maneuvering was fine. It was more just like getting up the hill on rainy. You had to get a running start to get up the hill on rainy.
That's
street,
insane.
And, like,
that's crazy.
People would hop out of the cab and push you and run,
Really?
push you off the bike, and then at the time it was like a lot of people just did tips only. It's like, yeah, man, whatever you're comfortable with, dude. And you had a sign that kind of gave suggestions, or people would be like, yeah, man, here's $20. That was so much fun. And like a lot of people that like back then would just think it was so funny that they had to push you up, and they just gave you the $20. They just were enjoying themselves, and they just thought it was hilarious. They're like, yeah, here's $20, dude. I'm drunk. This is amazing.
Yeah. That's great.
So that was my first like foray into this job. And granted, teaching didn't work, and a lot of things I tried to do just didn't work. But the more I kept failing at stuff, the more I just became the more interesting I became, and the more people just, I guess, wanted me to take them to Rainy Street. And that's all that happened, was you just failed upwards into a where we're like, well, this guy failed at like 20 different things, but like it would be really fun for him to take me to Rainy Street because I get to like pick this guy's brain or be like, or this guy's like really interesting and this is cool. So like my attitude is that, doing this job motivates me to continue doing more creative projects, succeed or fail. At the very worst, more people will just want me to take them to Rainy Street. This episode is brought to you by Balcones Roofing and Remodeling. Have you been leaving your house outside again? Texas weather can wreak havoc on your home, especially your roof. And if you haven't had it inspected lately, chances are that outside elements could be making their way inside. Trust Balcones Roofing and Remodeling to perform a thorough roof inspection and offer long-lasting solutions. They are the only 5-star rated roofer in Austin who specialize in installing the impact-resistant F-Wave Revia and back all roof replacements with a $20,000 guarantee. To schedule a roof inspection, call 512-937-8805 or visit balconesroofsaustin.com.
That's super cool. So it's changed a ton in 10 years.
A ton.
I did not know that they had just a bike with a cart attached to the back. That's kind of insane.
I did this job for a little bit before even Uber was here.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And before scooters, I did this job before scooters. I did this job. There was a year period where Uber was not even operating in Austin.
Really?
Yeah, because they had to fingerprint their drivers.
Do you think pedicabbing is cooler now? Do you like it better now?
Yes. And I also think that COVID changed a lot. I think that after COVID kind of changed a lot of things. And I think that people like you and Eric are really good for this industry.
Oh, thank you. Why is that?
Because you're using this job as a way to advance in life, and a lot of people before COVID were just doing this job just so that they can go have money to go smoke weed, and they were just total slackers who had no ambition to grow and develop and like level up and advance from where they were. They were perfectly content to just be stuck. They were perfectly content to just be stuck. They had a super high time preference way of doing things. It was just like, hey man, I just want to ride this bike for X amount of time. I look I'm sitting in line. I look miserable. I'm chain smoking cigarettes. I'm depressed. I'm angry at the world. I'm not like actively trying to improve anything. And like there was just a lot of negative attitudes that were around pre-COVID. And luckily a lot of that kind of like the people that rode during COVID, you had a different mindset of people because the people that rode during COVID just had a totally different attitude. And a lot of those toxic people kind of like left as a result. And most of them haven't really came back to the same degree, if they've come back at all.
I was gonna say, I feel like there's not that many people like that are just like miserable and like feeling stuck at this point. It's like
you have a much more entrepreneurial class of people now.
Yeah.
Do you notice that, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see it before, how it was before, but
it was just a lot of degenerate slackers.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that people would associate pedicabbers with degenerate slackers.
Yeah.
And who knows what they associate that with, but I do feel as though people like you and Eric and Emilio are just good for this, are just good for how people look at us. I'm like, oh my God, like when I take a because when people pedicabbing is like this luxury item that costs a lot more money than an Uber, right? And so when you're gonna spend more money on kind of a novelty form of transportation, like you generally speaking want to know that you're supporting something positive and good. And so it's like when you're supporting somebody go to the Worlds in Jiu-Jitsu, that's good. Like that makes us look good. That it's like, hey man, whenever I take a pedicab, like I'm helping this person pay for college. I'm helping this person like feed their kids. I'm helping this person, perform at Mohawk next week. I'm helping this person go to Worlds. This person's about to be on Flow Grappling that I just took a ride from.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really cool.
And so, the more people like you that do this job, the better we look as an industry.
That's true.
So I just think it's really good that's I think it's really good.
Yeah, and I think people really like that too. Like they like helping out, that kind of thing. Like they want people to achieve their dreams.
Yes.
That's why we have that thing written on the back of our bikes. Or it's not on mine right now, but it's on Eric's. That basically says like, "Hey, I want to open a gym one day," because that's his dream.
Yeah.
By taking this ride, you're helping me get there. So
yes,
and people love that.
Yeah, and so that Emilio, the fighter from 10th Planet, he actually got into pedicabbing because of me.
Really?
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because we were at 10th Planet, and he would like see my podcast, and I would bring up and talk about pedicabbing when I was going there a lot. And I actually I bought this bike. Like so, I bought this bike, and for a while I bought this bike, I was riding one of Nate's bikes because I had such a cheap lease because I helped secure an ad deal, and like me and Nate kind of worked something out in advance right before COVID because I was gonna buy a bike from DOB at the time and ride it for a year because he was just giving it away.
Okay.
And he's like, "Here, man, I'll lower your lease by an insane amount of money." And so I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'll stay cool."
Yeah, that's nice.
And then COVID happened, so the thing didn't work out anyway. But I got this really great deal on lease, and then I had this ad deal, so I was basically paying next to nothing to lease a bike for a really long time. And then I decided to buy this bike, and I'm like, let me buy this bike for Emilio because I can actually help Emilio. Like, I can actually help Emilio achieve his dreams because this like pedicabbing is like.
You bought him a bike?
No, I bought me the bike. I bought him the bike that he had to lease from me.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
I didn't buy this for him. No. No,
I was like, that's really nice.
No. But I charged him a pretty cheap lease.
Yeah.
And I gave him discounts. If you want to fight, I gave him half off his lease.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like I did stuff
That's
like
so
that.
sweet.
Yeah, like if you win your fight, you pay me half what you pay me.
Mm-hmm.
You win a super fight, you'll get like $100 off your lease.
There you go.
Like that's what I was doing with Emilio, and
that's good incentive for sure.
Yeah, and I try, and it was actually stressful as fuck having him like always fix things and do all this stuff. Anytime something was wrong, it was very stressful having to be responsible. But Emilio's a really good rider.
Yeah.
But the only reason I even did this was because Emilio was actively fighting.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I was like, hey man, here's this like cheaper lease for the bike. Hey, ride this pedicab that I bought and pay me this lease is because you're actively trying to pursue a dream and. Pedicabbing helped me level up. Like I own a house now. I get a chance to make videos where 20,000 plus people see it now. So,
yeah.
And even more, I've been on like a bunch of television shows that I never thought I would ever be on. I've got a chance to share the stage with different comics and performers who are way more established than I have. And I'm just a guy on this tricycle with like with a bunch of learning disabilities that didn't know what it was like to live outside of his mom and dad's house until I moved here. And so it's like remarkable to me to just be able to do all this.
That's really incredible.
Yeah, and so I'm like, well, I want to give back and, you know, have somebody else with these same with big dreams to help. I want to help make somebody else's big dreams come true.
Yeah.
And so I lent this to Emilio, but you know, if I were to ever own a shop, one of my prerequisites for me renting a cab from you is that you have to be trying to accomplish something. Like, I'm not going to just rent from you just because you're going to pay me lease money. Like, I want to see that you're performing.
Yeah.
I want to see that you're taking taking matches. I want to see that you're trying to take fights. I want to see that you're like actually working on a novel. I want to see that you're working on something. And the moment you stop working on stuff, I'm like, all right, well, cool. You're going to pay me a lot more money now.
Yeah. I like that. That's a really cool idea.
So that was, you know, it's one of those things where this job has helped me tremendously like level up in a multitude of ways, and I want to give back to it, make it so someone else can level up in an additional multitude of ways. So that's my story. But how do you feel about the people in our industry? Don't drop names if you have anything bad to say.
No,
names, so like,
I don't. I mostly have nothing bad to say about people in people pedicabbing or people in jujitsu.
no, pedicabbing.
Pedicabbing, I feel like everybody's that people are definitely weird. We've already established that, but that's amazing. Like, it's cool. Like, it's a good time. Like, I very much enjoy it. It's a bunch of like misfits. It feels like
misfits that enjoy being misfits and are very comfortable being misfits.
Yeah, and it's like everybody's trying to do for like what we're talking about now. Like, everybody's trying to like get somewhere else, and everybody's like very entrepreneurial, which is really cool. But for the most part, I feel like everybody's really, really nice. It's always fun, like very talkative, very personable. You know, obviously there's always going to be one or two people in any job that you do that are going to, you know, not be so kind, or they're going to be like, you know, gypping people on rides or whatever. But, you know, for the most part, I feel like everybody's really nice.
Yeah, we had a bit of a problem with that when everything started reopening, and there were a bunch of people that like started getting hired that just like saw the money, and because everyone had all this COVID money and they were just throwing it around, and people just tried to be like pirates and just try to take as much as they could without like wanting to give anything to the industry.
Yeah,
and that was getting me frustrated. But I think that now that things have slowed down, a lot of those people are not going to be around anymore.
Yeah. What do you mean? What were they doing? Like specific, or can you not?
Overcharging, you know,
okay.
selling weed if they could, and just shit like
that.
That.
Yeah, like
yeah,
just dealing drugs on the cab,
like shit like that, or like, you know, like kind of deceptively telling people what the price is after the ride is over. Just like, you saw some of that shit.
Yeah.
You saw people trying to like overly brag about how much money they were making, or like overloading their cabs, or you know, just riding the wrong side of the road, just driving super recklessly just to make that extra $5.
Yeah.
Just doing, just not respecting the job. Stealing batteries, stealing things right away.
Really?
Not stealing forever, but like they see a battery and they just take it because they just have no regard for anybody but themselves and their immediate ability to make money. So there's been some of that, and that's been kind of a bit of a problem. But I think that it's kind of dying down. Like, do you find that, like, how do you feel the money is right now?
I feel like it has gotten a little slower this month in particular. I don't know why. I've heard that around the shops too. I've heard other people having a hard time making money like the past couple weekends. But, you know, it's still good enough. Like,
it's good enough because you have jujitsu and it helps you with that.
Yeah. And we're always going to make it work. That's kind of
you're going to make it work. I think that a lot of people too are like, so when I first did this job, it was a lot of like degenerate slackers, lack of a better word.
Yeah.
And now you have a bunch of people that are just like kind of almost obsessed with the toxic like hustle culture.
Yeah.
So now it's like now it's like went almost full circle where everybody is a little bit too money hungry.
Yeah. I'm trying to be a little bit less obsessed with hustling because I feel like I get burnt out if I do that, especially with like training camps and things like that. Because before jiu-jitsu, I used to be like super industrious and like always trying to like, you know, just be as good as I could in like every direction. I was like burning out easily, like with any job or like school that I was doing. But now that like I have jiu-jitsu, I kind of have to like force myself to not be like so in that hustle culture, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's like don't go through the brick wall. Figure out how do I go around the brick wall? Like how do I do the cheat code? How do I like I'm
trying to find smarter ways of sustaining my life rather than just killing myself.
Well, I think one thing that I've learned about pedicabbing is the importance of not following the herd.
Yeah.
And also taking what everybody says with a grain of salt. Like, do you ever notice how a lot of people get really excited to make a ton of money every week?
Yeah.
Because they see all these events, bro, we're going to make so much money. And then you see the event go by, and now, like, those same people are just sitting in their cabs looking sad and mopey with no rides.
Yeah. Yeah. I do see that. There's that one. Do you know Nick from our shop?
What's Nick look like?
He wears, like, mountain bike outfit all the time. He's always wearing, like, a fox, like, rash guard thing and, like, and the gloves and whatever. He's, like,
I know
super
Nick,
outgoing.
yeah.
He's always yelling at people. He's like, "Hey, ladies, like, you want to
Yeah.
ride?" He's super funny. I feel like he's one of those people that definitely does not follow the herd, and I think he benefits a lot for it.
Nick does well. Nick also drives the pub crawler tricycles with me too.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Nick is great. Nick
Yeah.
is super cool.
He's amazing, and he's never like, you'll never catch him in the line, like in the queue line. He's always like just zipping around.
That's exact. Don't stay in lines.
Yeah.
Have you made any friends with any pedicabbers? Aside from aside from you and Eric and whatnot, have you made any friends?
Yeah, of course. We actually have Carrie and
Okay.
his wife Claire. She doesn't pedicab, but they started doing jujitsu with us.
Well, that's fun.
We made friends with them pedicabbing. I'd say Nick is a good friend now, and Alejandro.
Alejandro's cool.
Yeah, you,
Yeah,
Emilio,
I'm glad that we're
of course.
friends. Yeah.
But yeah, there's quite a few people that have become pretty close with. So
You know, it's a community, but it's not jujitsu. It's not like when you go through a fight camp and when you're going through like trying to get on cards with people.
Yeah.
It's like a weird diet form of trauma bonding, so you become a lot closer.
yeah,
Whereas with this job, we're all friends, but we're friends because like us being cool with each other just helps us make more money.
it really
But
does.
there's no like real like super loyal association with a lot of the pedicappers. I feel like I'm friends with them and I like them and it's fun going to work, but it's like, you know, I wouldn't trust a bunch of them a lot of these people. I would never let them stay in my house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would never lend them money. You know, I wouldn't want to like hang out with them more, socially for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even have beers at the shop really. Like when everyone's like at the shop having beers and hanging out, maybe
Yeah.
I have one, but that's it.
Yeah, it's totally different than jujitsu friends, because you like have to become close in jujitsu. I feel like.
You're around them all the time. It's like
Yeah.
a comfort thing.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of that, but I don't know. I think that there is a lot of, I've seen a little bit more toxic hustle culture, which I don't like very much. But I also noticed that like this new group of pedicabbers, they have like their eyes are kind of a little bit bigger than their stomach, and they're not like they're gonna crush themselves with high expectations.
Yeah.
and they're gonna crush themselves with high expectations and the lack of a foundation and real purpose. And so
You think new pedicabbers, as in like the ones that have started this summer, or?
I think the ones that have started around the same time. I think you and Eric are gonna be fine because you're doing this to do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But I think a lot. When did you start?
I think I started in like October. I think he did ACL.
Okay.
He
You
started
started
ACL.
around that time. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the people, I think that a lot of the people that started in 2021 are not going to make it because they started on such a high.
Because it was so good then, huh?
Yeah. They started at such a high. That's their baseline. And now that things are going below their baseline,
Yeah.
they're going to get frustrated. They're going to like, they've already started with a bad foundation. So like in 2021, people were going out and drinking and partying, and then they go out from 8 to 12 and kill it.
Yeah.
Just because everyone was killing it. And, they were just doing this unscrupulously being pirates.
And was that just because of COVID? Was it like Ubers weren't allowed and stuff like that?
Oh, no. It was Ubers were coming back, but it was just people had their coat. People had that stimulus money. Everything started getting open. Everything was pent up. People, the stock market was at an all-time high. People's crypto investments were through the roof. Like people just had money to throw around.
Yeah.
Everyone was worried about inflation, so people just didn't care that like a ride was $30.
Gotcha.
It just didn't matter.
Yeah.
And then people just got used to that as their baseline, and then all of a sudden people's portfolios are down. People are worried about losing their jobs. Like a bunch of macroeconomic conditions have changed. A lot of these people that come in have no concept of any of that.
Yeah.
And so they're still doing the same thing.
Yep.
And then people aren't getting in as much. And now they've made, and they think that they're going to make this high number all the time, no matter what. And they're not. There was no living in reality. Because I would tell them, I'm like, yo, dude, you're going to make about 30% less this year.
Yeah.
Just you understand that this is not going to be as good of a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they get angry and upset and say, no, that's not true. That's, and that you're just hating, that's being negative.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make it because I'm really good at this job. And I'm just like, no, dude, you're really not.
And then
You're fine. You're cool and you're good at it, but you're not that much better. Like, you're not like this master salesperson. Like, you're just a guy who rides this tricycle. There's nothing special about you.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going to make 30% less than what you made.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Understand that, and then just plan accordingly, and just
Mm-hmm.
figure out like, okay, well, since I'm gonna make 30%, like, be industrious. It's like if one move in jiu-jitsu doesn't work, like, what's the next move? What's the next move? It's like
Yep.
chain wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm like, well, if I'm gonna make 30% less, well, why? Maybe I just get out a little bit earlier. Maybe I just spend a little more time finding events that nobody's gonna look for.
Yep.
Maybe I'm gonna, buy Bitcoin now that Bitcoin's 80% cheaper,
Mm-hmm.
and so. Yeah, I made a little bit less money this year, but then when the next bull market comes, I'm going to make 5 times more than everybody else when things are good,
Yep.
right? But I think because a lot of people don't think that way in our industry, because
Yeah.
they don't. They're like everyone's a hustler, but they're hustling to try to make as much money as they can now.
Yep.
They're not,
It feels like there's very little like forward planning.
there's no forward planning in this industry.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to make money and they want to be entrepreneurial, but there's no forward planning, and very few people in this industry know how to deal with adversity because they've never really been challenged with very much of anything. And I think you and Eric are going to be fine because you have a sport where you're constantly in an adverse situation.
Yeah. And I feel like in terms of jobs, I've been in adverse situations since I was like 18. So
So this is fun. This is
I'm
easy.
used to-
This
I'm
is
used to
fun.
it. Yeah.
This is fun,
This
right?
is
like
fun.
this job is fun compared to like trolling a meeting. Trolling meetings are fun, but like
Yeah.
compared to like trolling a protest, compared to like talking shit to an actual Nazi at a pride route, like this is fun.
yeah, this is great. It's amazing.
This is
We're-
fun.
There's like probably one or two times a week where we're all sitting around. We just look at each other and we're like, "How is this our job? Like, this is so cool. We just get to like ride around outside all day."
Yeah, the problem is you can't give the secret away because then it stops being your job too. And a lot of people blab
Yeah.
and blab and blab and talk about how much money they make, and then all these new people come in,
Mm-hmm.
and then it could fuck things up for everybody. So there's also got to be like, we weren't very good at keeping secrets in 2021, and then a lot of people that kind of didn't respect the job came in, and that's how you create these upswings
Yeah.
and downswings and upswings and downswings. But what I was saying is that the people from 2021 are not going to last.
Yeah.
A lot of them are not going to last.
Do you already see any of them dropping out?
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah,
Oh.
I see a few. That dude, that big dude that walked by Steady, he's gonna make it because
yeah.
he's evolved.
Steady, the guy with the giant cab. And
Yeah,
the
that guy's
he's-
gonna make. That guy's gonna make it. That guy's going to.
He's in his final form.
Yeah, he's the ultimate pedicabber
Yeah.
now. Like that guy, he's gonna make it.
Pedicab pimp.
He is a pedicab pimp.
Yeah.
He's gonna make it. But that's because he developed a niche thing and he was smart and thought ahead.
Yeah.
Nobody else is doing that.
Yeah.
Very few people are doing that, right? So I think a lot of people that started in 2021, I think they are the most likely to fall off after this year if it continues to be a slow year.
Yeah.
I think that people who started in 2022 and the people who started kind of now while things are slow are going to either A, get really discouraged about this job and think that it wasn't what it was cracked up to be, and they're going to say, man, I'm just going to do Uber because Uber's easier, and they're going to just give up or do Uber or do Favor or get a normal job and work at HEB, or they'll just go to school, or they'll just get some bitch job in an office or something like that, you know? Because I think that if you're doing this job because you think you're going to just make a bunch of fast money really quickly, it's the same thing as like buying Bitcoin because you just want to buy a Lamborghini right away. It's not how
Yeah,
that, it's not
it's
how
not
that
how it
works.
works.
It's not how
Yeah.
that works. So I think a lot of people are going to get disappointed because their reality did not meet their expectations. And then there's going to be another group that, because they started when things were kind of bad and slow, are going to be forced to get really creative and really industrious and really resourceful. And then when things start getting better, they're going to be monsters at this job.
Yeah. I think so too.
That's what I think.
That'll be pretty cool. It'll be cool to see.
Emilio is an example of this.
Yeah.
So do you know that Emilio, when he first started, he was fucking terrible at it?
No, I did not know that.
I mean, he wasn't terrible. Like, he did okay, right? He was still making. He came from being an Uber driver,
Okay.
and he is still doing better than being an Uber driver. But when I told him, I was like, he was asking what to expect, and I'm like, well, a lot of people will have one monster weekend and talk about how they made this and brag and brag and brag,
Mm-hmm.
and then they create this expectation of, insane amounts of money being made, right?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of people that do that, and they're like, oh my god, I made like $900 today, and it's like, did you really? I feel like sometimes people lie.
Some people do lie, but a lot of people do, and they get really happy and they get really excited and they think they're the shit and that they're like, they're the next Elon Musk or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't need to do nothing, man. I'm the man, bro.
Yeah.
And then they can't manage their emotions, and when things are high, they let the high get to them, and then when the crash comes, it becomes worse, and then they become the sad line lizard,
Yeah.
Hanging out on 6th Street looking depressed and stuff.
Yeah.
Not knowing if they're going to pay their rent.
Yes.
So there's a lot of those people.
Mm-hmm.
But I told Amelia, I was like, listen, you'll do better than you are at an Uber driver. You're going to have flexibility to like go through a fight camp without having to work every day.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's going to make you put on a mask, and nobody's going to make you get a vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what I told him. And that was the expectation that we set. And then I'm just like, he told me how he would do, and he's like, well, how did I do? And he what he did was fine, but I'm just like, well, I think it's good for normal people, but like, compared to everybody else, you're at the lower end of the totem pole.
Yeah.
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 But that's okay. Is it going to help you train for your fights? You're training for a fight right now. You're trying to be a fighter. You're not going to do as well as somebody like me who's making this his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about it. Like you're fine. Like I didn't make a ton when I was trying to do fight camps.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in that boat right now. Like I'm at the lower end for sure.
You're definitely you are probably at the lower end.
Whenever Eric and I talk about like what we made from whatever like in or out crowd, I'm usually like way less. But it's also like a thing where I'm still getting used to like charging people and like being firm with prices rather than like taking, where people like try to barter, and I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, do it for like $5, which is like probably not smart.
Nah, you're at the lower end because you're a competitive athlete, and there's only so much energy that you can expend, and your health bar can only your health bar is only so big.
That's true.
And for as long as you're competing, and for as long as you're competing and winning.
Yeah.
You're gonna be at the lower end of the monetary spectrum here.
Yeah, which is fine.
And you know that.
Yeah, I'm happy with it as long as I can pay my bills and like live a comfortable enough life. Then I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't have to be making like crazy amounts of money.
The moment that you stop wanting to compete,
which will be never.
Good. The moment that something may happen that makes you stop wanting to compete or stop being able to compete.
Yeah.
You're gonna make a lot more money.
Yeah, I think so too.
You were gonna do because
I can put all that energy into this.
Into one thing, all that energy into one thing, and this job is way easier than training.
Oh yeah, way easier.
Yeah, you'll crush it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to Emilio. So Emilio got a concussion.
Mm-hmm.
And Emilio can't really train because his concussion wound up being pretty bad.
Yep.
And so now Emilio's crushing it.
Mm-hmm.
But I told him that. I'm like, well, listen, man, like, the moment that you are not training for fights, and if you decide to put all this energy into, if you decide to channel this energy into just driving this tricycle, you're going to do really well.
Mm-hmm.
But for right now, while you're trying to be a fighter, you're gonna do just well enough to be able to do your camp and not work as much.
Yep.
But that was the realistic expectation that I said.
Yeah.
And I think, the people that come in with realistic expectations will last and love this job, and the people that come in with inflated expectations become sad and miserable.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So that's my those are my words of wisdom. That's my sage advice for you. When's your next match? Because we're about to wrap up kind of soon. Because we got to actually start riding, and I know you want to get to the gym right before. Or are we gonna?
I think so. Yeah, I'm gonna try to go train before we go out. But my next match is Thursday night at 10th Planet.
Who are you going up against?
I think I'm going against B. I think her last name is Ryu. Ryu. She trains under Danaher. She's been under him for like 6 years.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so it should be a nice match. She's I've heard she's a really, really good leg locker.
Ooh.
So I've been working on that for a while. I was supposed to have a match against her on my last match, but she ended up dropping out last second because she had a like stomach problem.
Oh shit.
So yeah, so I'm happy to get that rematch against her now, and we'll see how that goes.
We'll see what happens. Allie, how do we get a hold of you?
You can find me on Instagram at Allie Wolski.
Okay.
And that's pretty much my only main platform right now.
No YouTube channel, no Twitter, nothing?
I have TikTok, but I haven't been uploading on that, so don't worry about it. Just Allie Wolski on Instagram.
All right, Allie, love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.